Hello. Here I review movies, and today's film is A Quiet Place Day 1. It's a thriller horror prequel to the A Quiet Place franchise and shows how the aliens first invaded Earth. The story follows Samira, a dying poet trying to find one last slice of pizza. The story was written by Michael Sarnoski and John Krasinski. Michael Sarnoski adapted it into a screenplay. The film was directed by Michael Sarnoski and stars Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, and Djimon Hounsou. If you're a big fan of the franchise, you're in for another dose of horse alien goodness, and if you're new, the movie is written as a standalone piece. Let's start with the positives. The story is an exciting invasion told from the perspective of a dying woman and a scared young man. We start with a little bit of an introduction to Samira, and then the end of the world happens. From that point on, it's a constant fight to survive these nightmarish monsters. While they're surviving, Samira and Eric meet other groups of survivors, spend a bit of time bonding, and then they get an epic conclusion to their story. We also see a bit of Henry's origin story as well. Djimon Hounsou isn't in the film for long, but we see how his character's family dealt with the initial invasion and how they escaped New York. Their journeys are filled with death, destruction, and lots of visually stunning images of chaos. Beyond that, there's a ton of great character development for Samira, Eric, and Henry. They flesh them out and show different types of people dealing with the initial shock, the continued horror, and the inevitable acceptance of the new world. The general cast does a great job with their roles. There's a lot of fear and pain reactions that are simply heartbreaking to watch unfold. All of them from normal people too. Most of the movie is about how the average person dealt with the invasion. For standouts, you had Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn. Djimon Hounsou and Alex Wolff also put on fantastic performances, but they weren't given quite enough screen time to really stand out. Hounsou gets to play a good guy who accidentally kills someone, and gets to do some big emotions. Wolff plays a caretaker trying to help Samira and does some amazing fear reactions before exiting the story. Lupita Nyong'o as Samira is a tired and bitter woman. She's dying and seems to resent the world in her last moments. When the apocalypse happens, all she wants is one last slice of pizza, but she keeps coming across people who need her help. As a good person, she can't leave them, and Nyong'o does a fantastic job of emoting and dealing with the big emotional moments. The scene of her screaming during the thunderstorm felt visceral. Joseph Quinn plays a young man who is terrified. He's so scared he can't even move on his own. It's pure luck that leads him to Samira, and if it wasn't for her, he'd be dead. Quinn plays the fear in a hyper-realistic manner. Later, when his character gathers his courage, he plays the transition well. Visually, the film is stunning with a lot of really cool moments. The death and destruction these aliens rain down on Earth is terrifying. They rip people apart, destroy huge sections of the landscape, and there's little the humans can do against them. The film has a great grasp of creating tension through the visual narrative, and I found myself constantly on the edge of my seat waiting for something to pop out at me. There were a few solid jump scares, a lot of tense scenes, and big moments of devastation. At one point, they look out over New York and the whole city is on fire, with explosions going off and the sight of the military trying to fight back. It's a good shot that captures the horror. Like the other films in the franchise, Day 1 makes heavy use of silence and ambient noise to help sell the premise of the film. The music they do use is instrumental tracks that tend to support the emotional journey when they appear. Think tension tracks and the occasional sad song. They used the silence plus ambience to great effect and pulled off some wicked jump scares. They weren't quite as successful with the music though. Which brings us to the negatives. The film lacks three things. Its visual journey is more than a little bit shaky, and at times is too dark and somewhat poorly designed. It does have its moments, but the overall journey didn't need to look that murky. The movie's music is also quite lackluster, and there were quite a few times where they missed out on opportunities to add some flavor. Yes, the silence works for building up the monsters, but a little bit of music during the down periods would have helped make the film a bit more memorable. The music they did use was also highly generic, the kind of thing you expect to hear in every horror film. Finally, the film doesn't have anything new to offer fans of the franchise. It doesn't elaborate on where the aliens came from or teach us anything all that new about them. We really just learn about how the humans reacted, which was the same as any other horror movie, badly. Personally, I struggled to get past the aliens in the first film, and I struggled to get past them in this one. Their ability to hear just seems so inconsistent, and their complete lack of intelligence usually ends up knocking me out of the story. If you can ignore that, this film is a great film about two people surviving a horrific event together. It's got some fantastic acting, a solid story, and a lot of standout moments. The journey isn't the cleanest, and the music is a bit boring, but otherwise the film is well produced. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 7 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.